So let me introduce Adam Brsan. Adam is located just outside Chicago, Illinois, in Manhattan, Illinois. He is our longest tenured manager. Adam has been in the final expense, but not only in insurance, but the final expense somewhere in the neighborhood of 20 years now. He can provide you better answers on that. But are you there, Adam?
Hey, Tommy. Yes, I'm here. Thanks for having me. Yeah, I've been in the business now for about 17 years. Pretty much my whole professional career has revolved around the final expense business.
That's awesome. So Adam,
Yes.
we've had lots of questions regarding telesales, regarding getting back out in the field. Um, if you don't mind, just kind of go over, you talked to a lot of agents, you've been out and about yourself. How do you think COVID-19 is affecting final expense as a whole, and how's it affecting us moving forward?
Well, for one thing, I think that from what I've seen, the people who have really gotten the most out of this whole situation, well, I guess the ones who have succeeded are the companies who have adapted and the agents who have adapted. Those that kind of knew that they had to change. Our company, Security National Life, I mean, we knew for a while that field sales really wasn't going to be a thing, and if we still wanted business to come in, we had to adapt to the current situation. And kind of the same thing with the agents. I've seen that those who've been willing to adapt have done pretty well. I know that there have been a lot of agents maybe who have not adapted. A lot of people maybe who've been in the business a long time, they're kind of comfortable in their ways. And I think it's kind of like, maybe they have that fear of failure, kind of like that fear of just kind of having to start over to kind of relearn the whole thing. And fortunately, I guess we're kind of at the point in this pandemic where those agents don't necessarily have to basically create a brand new business model. They can get back out in the field and they can kind of do what they're used to doing and just kind of get back in the swing of things. But in regards to this whole pandemic and the country, it kind of reminds me back like '07 and '08. We had this financial crisis where so many businesses were affected by that. But the one business that wasn't was the final expense business. My business was not affected. It was business as usual. And I think that because of this pandemic, I think that more and more agents are going to be transitioning to final expense, looking at final expense as more of a full-time career and not just an option or a product to be able to sell. Because we're dealing with a recession-proof market. I mean, we're working with people who are living on Social Security. They receive their monthly income. That's all they're living on. They're not, they really have not been affected by this pandemic. They still have their monthly income coming in just like they were months ago. So, and I think that's why more and more agents are, I think if anything, it's going to drive competition. I think that I just remember back in '07 and '08, I mean, that was really when so many agents were getting into the business. The business I was writing, the company I was writing business with at the time, I didn't really realize the rates were not as competitive. But as more and more agents were getting into the business, I was kind of losing business because of that. That's when I started finding different options. Security National Life, of course, is a great option. We have great rates. I've been here for 5 years. I haven't had one piece of business replaced. So it's a great option for really all business. But like I said, in regards to the COVID thing, I think that final expense is really going to be the business that's going to thrive.
I wholeheartedly agree. I was back in '07, '08. I'm just kind of going back in my mind as well. I was in some other markets at the time, higher end markets that got dramatically affected by the markets. And when I kind of stepped back and took a look at it, the reason I got into final expenses at the time was pretty much what you just said. It's recession proof. For the most part, our final expense customers are always going to be there, regardless of what happens in the economy. Yeah, because of the COVID, they have to be more careful from that standpoint. But financially, their situation hasn't changed, and maybe actually improved. They may have a little bit more money because they're not out spending it as loosely as what they were before. So I wholeheartedly agree with you. We just have to do it safely for everyone, for ourselves, for our prospects. But like I said earlier, majority of our apps recently have come in on paper being face to face. So uh, if any of you are worried about getting out, you have a right to be worried. Uh, I think there's a lot of different scenarios out there from that agents are in. Some of you financially are waiting until it's over. In my opinion, it's not going to be over for a long time. So we kind of have to learn how to live with this and how to move forward to where we can take care of ourselves, our family, our customers in the environment that we're in a safe manner. So um, I wholeheartedly agree with everything you said. So kind of
I
a
think
lot.
that we need to go out in the field with the mindset that these people want to be talking to us. They're filling out cards, requesting information. They want someone to help them with this. We need to go out with that mindset. We can't have that fear that people just aren't going to want to talk to us, because if we have that fear, well, we're probably going to get that kind of result.
All right. Well, I've got a question from an agent here. Um, he's saying I'm fairly new in the business, but in your opinion, what does it take to have a long-lasting career in the final expense business?
Well, I think that really, I'd say about maybe three things that are very important. For one, you need to have a plan. You got to have a presentation. I think presentation is important. I think going into homes and winging it is not the way to do it. I have a presentation that I teach my agents. I know our company has a presentation. There's no magic presentation that's going to give you better results than another, but I think that it's just good to have some kind of structure going into a home. That's how you're going to be comfortable, feel like you know what you're talking about a little bit better. I think ordering leads on a consistent basis is probably crucial to success. You got to have a steady flow of leads coming in. If you don't, you're going to be in and out of the business. And with that, I think money management. I've had agents who order leads, but then they go out and make some sales and they don't put money back into their leads. They're in and out of the business because they're just not good at managing their money. So I think that that's very important, is making sure to set money aside. Every time you make a sale, set money aside. I'd say, like myself, every time I make a sale, I throw 20% into a separate bank account that I'm using for future lead orders. And then with that, work ethic is probably the most important. I mean, it's great to learn a presentation. It's great to have leads to go work. But if you're not spending the time out in the field, going out and working them, I mean, you might as well not order leads or learn a presentation. You got to know when you're ordering leads that you need to plan on spending majority of the day out in the field. I mean, when I have leads, I'll leave my house at 9 o'clock in the morning. There's nights I might not get home until 9 o'clock at night. I want to do whatever I can to get in front of those people while I'm out in the field. And I don't want to go home until I at least have a sale or two. And in the past, I would tell agents to make sure they don't go home until they make a sale, but then I would have a guy make a sale at 10 o'clock in the morning, and then he'd be home by noon. And I'd be telling them, well, what happens if you don't make a sale tomorrow? I mean, you got to stay out in the field as much as you can and just get the most out of this. I remember one time I was out in the field about 7:30 at night. One of my agents called me. It was about 7:30 at night. One of my agents called me and he said that he had a 3 o'clock appointment and that person wasn't home. So he just went home because he just didn't feel good. And he just went home because he was upset that his appointment wasn't home. And I told him, I said, that's why you're failing. I said, you need to be spending your time out in the field. You have other leads in that area that you could be working. you just don't want to go home until you at least have an app, or at least until you know that you made every effort possible to get a hold of people. Not every day is going to be the best. The good days are going to make up for the bad, though, but I mean, you got to put the time in. I'd say that's probably the most important part of the whole thing.
Absolutely, I agree. I think I heard you say 4 different things there. Have a structured presentation, leads,
Yes.
money management, and then the motivation drive. I think 3 out of 4 of those we can teach. We can't get people out of bed to go work, but if you have the motivation, if you have the drive, we can teach you the rest of it. If you've never been taught before, if you've never received training, reach out to your manager. We're here to help you. We feel a responsibility to help you. I mean, some of you are new and don't have the guidance that you need or haven't had it in the past. Reach out to your manager. We're here to help you. We want to help you. That's kind of what we live for. I mean, that's why we're doing what we're doing. So John's asking, kind of piggybacking on that same idea. It says, I'm just getting started and I don't have a lot of money to work with. Any special tips to help me get up and running?
Well, I mean, if you're just getting started, I mean, the great thing about writing business with us is the fast start contest. Uh, as important as leads are, I think anybody can figure out a way to write one application without leads. You can work your warm market. Everybody has Facebook. You don't even have to place an ad. I mean, you can, it doesn't hurt to ask. Ask people that you know if they would be interested, or even if they know of people who could use something like this. And I think you'll probably find at least a few people. But if you can write one app with your warm market base of people that you know, I mean, not only are you going to earn a $250 in lead credit, you're also going to earn a commission. Well, right there, you have money to kind of get your business up and running. And if you've been here a little bit longer than a couple of weeks, I mean, still, I mean, if you hit 3,500 your first month, you're going to get another 250 in lead credit. So I think that that's what I love about our company. It's just the things that we do to kind of help agents along the way from the get-go. I mean, where else can you go where you write one app and a company is going to invest in you and help you get your business up and running?
Wholeheartedly agree. That's what the Fast Start contest is there for, and we front end a lot of lead credit with that to really help you get going and help you sustain that. Going back to the previous one on that money management, if you've never listened to our 6 weeks to success webinar, that's primarily about money management. And I think that's one thing that doesn't get taught very often in this business is money management. And I think it's critically important. So I appreciate you touching on that.
Yeah, you know, my accountant told me once, she said, boy, you guys are great. You guys that are in sales are great at going on and making sales, but you're not the best at at managing your money and things like that. So I don't know, maybe find someone that can even help you if you have to just, but there's so many apps. There's apps that you can get now where I forget what, there was one that was called where it can automatically transfer the money for you, where every time you get a deposit, you don't even have to manually transfer money. You can have it set up where every time you get a deposit, where automatically 20% is going to go into a separate account. And
Yeah.
that could help. And you know what? If you're putting 20% aside along with the 10% lead credit, you're going to have more than enough to order leads on a consistent basis.
Wholeheartedly agree. Steve is asking, kind of going back to COVID a little bit, what do you think agents can do to prepare for getting back into the field?
Well, I would say back to leads. I think leads is probably the most important part. I would recommend to order leads that are local. So if you're ordering Facebook leads, make sure that you're ordering Facebook leads that are within a smaller mile radius. So then you can work those leads out in the field. If you don't want to do a statewide Facebook campaign because then you're driving all over the place. trying to reach people. It's almost impossible to be able to do something like that. I'd recommend for immediate success, if you need leads tomorrow, order Facebook leads. For future success, I would order direct mail. Our direct mail vendors, some of them you can get leads in like 2.5 to 3 weeks. So I would order some direct mail by zip code. And then that way you order 20 to 30 leads, you have 20 to 30 people to see that are just a few minutes apart from one another. But either way, I mean, the Facebook, for the time being, if you still can't get out in the field, you can call those leads. You can try to sell them over the phone. If you don't get anywhere with them over the phone, well, you can always go out in a few weeks and work those leads like new leads. And you'd be surprised at people that might have rejected you over the phone that'll let you in the house and you'll be able to make a sale on.
Absolutely,
Oh,
I would agree.
I'm sorry, Tommy. I also wanted to mention outside of leads. Again, it's a different world we're kind of walking into here, but be prepared. Like you mentioned earlier, Tommy, in regards to safety, I've been telling agents to put together a COVID kit. What I call a COVID kit is a mask, gloves, hand sanitizer, and even put like some chairs in the back of your car, like some bag chairs that you can take out. If people are comfortable sitting outside, they don't want you in their house, well, at least you have options available.
I agree. I don't know why this just popped in my head, but if you're having trouble maybe finding gloves or finding masks, uh, some of your Tractor Supply places, Home Depot, Lowe's, those type places, they tend to have gloves, and maybe in the lawn care section, a mask for so for dust and allergies. But you can use those as well if you can't find the supplies you're looking for. Maybe try some Tractor Supply places. Most decent sized towns or larger have those. So try those places as well if you're having trouble with that. The other thing, just kind of piggybacking on that, if you've been a successful agent, if you have a book of business, call those people back. Kind of do an annual review. You can even do it on the phone. You can drum up some business that way, either through adding on coverage or some of their loved ones. So don't overlook that either. All right, kind of going with the same topic here. Another question is, do you think it's necessary to call and set up appointments for in-home sales under the current circumstances?
I think it really probably depends on the state that the agent's doing business in and the guidelines that that state's put in place. If it was me, I mean, if my state opened up and I was able to just kind of get back out in the field and I want to treat things as normal as possible, I'm not going to call and set up appointments. I'm going to take those leads and I'm going to go straight to the door. Like I said earlier, I want to have that mindset that the people want my help, that they're waiting for me to come see them. That's kind of what I have to have in the back of my mind. Uh, I think that if you call and set up appointments, this pandemic could be the easiest excuse for somebody to not set up an appointment with you, even if they don't care much about the seriousness of this, whatever their opinion is of it. I think that it's just an easy way out if they don't want an appointment with you. I've always felt like it's much harder for someone to tell me no to my face than over the phone.
Yeah, I agree. The only thing I would add to that is if you're out knocking on the door, when you knock on the door, step back away from it. Just keep that distance. I think it'll help you and the prospect feel more comfortable.
Yeah, I agree.
And then if they're having an objection, offer alternative methods. Hey, we can sit out here on your front porch. I have some lawn chairs. That I think that's a good idea. I heard from an agent is they're taking lawn chairs. So if in case they don't want you in a home and they don't have a porch or have chairs, you can sit on the sidewalk or driveway. Um, and if all else fails, tell them, hey, I'll go sit in a car and I'll call you. You know who I am. We'll just call and talk over the phone. I'll be sitting in my car in the driveway. So, or in the street in front of your home, something of that nature. So there's alternative methods, is what I'm getting at. So if you have the motivation, if you have the drive, and if you need to get out there and make some sales, get you may have to get a little creative. You may have to think outside the box. Uh, but it can be done. There's lots of agents proving it can be done right now. Um, Another question here is kind of switching gears a little bit, is asking about persistency. Um, how do Any tips on helping me improve persistency and keeping more business on the books?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think a lot of agents out there are selling based on face amount and price. And I think that if that's how you're selling, you're setting yourself up to get replaced, because the next agent who walks into your client's home who can offer a a product maybe with a lower premium but the same face amount, well, your business is going to get replaced. I think it's important to add value. I think it's important to focus on the need, uh, and also affordability and setting draft dates properly. Those are really probably the biggest things. I'd never sell based on just the face amount and price. I want to add value. I want to focus on the need. I always ask my clients, first question on my mouth, by sending this card back, have you experienced a funeral lately? I want to get them back in that mindset of reminding them of why this is so important. I ask more questions to kind of piggyback off of that. Was there insurance involved? Was it enough? I mean, they're basically selling it to themselves by the end. But by focusing on the need, putting them back in that mindset of reminding them of why this is so important, it is. It's going to sell itself, along with keeping it affordable. Our clients are on a fixed income, so we always want to talk about affordability and make sure that we're putting them into a product that they can handle paying every month and not just the first month. I would rather write a policy that's $30 a month that I know that they're going to have for the rest of their life than $100 a month where they're going to cancel it next month because they just know that they can't handle keeping up with it. But then the draft dates. Majority of our clients are on Social Security. They're receiving their Social Security either on the first, the third, or the second, third, or fourth Wednesday. So I'm not very lenient when it comes to setting draft dates. I'm going to ask them. I always say, Mrs. Jones, this is on a bank draft. What's a good date? And if they tell me something like the 5th, well, the next thing I'm going to ask them is, okay, well, when do you get your Social Security? Do you get it on the 1st or do you get it on the 3rd? And they'll tell me either the 1st or the 3rd. And then I tell them, well, we actually have to set it for that date. And it'll always come out the same day you get your Social Security. And they're usually okay with it. Or the second, third, or fourth Wednesday. If they tell me to take that payment out on the 15th, I'm going to ask them, well, do you get paid on the second Wednesday? More than likely, they're going to tell me yes. Well, the second Wednesday could fall on the 8th of the month. So if I set that draft date for the 15th, I just gave them a whole week, a whole week to run to the bank, pull out all their money, and then that premium's not going to be there to draft when we want it to. So that's probably the biggest thing. It's just setting draft dates to coincide with the Social Security deposit days.
I agree. Social Security billing is huge. I mean, it's critically important to the market that we're working in. So I would highly encourage you to always use Social Security billing. It'll keep more business on the books, which results in better persistency, which results in keeping more money in your pocket. You don't have to go sell another policy or two just to pay back a chargeback. So it's very important. So a couple more questions here. Manny is asking, how do you present value or overcome a modified approval?
I present value by a few things. For one thing, non-contestable claims with us are usually paid pretty quickly, usually within about 72 hours. So that's something that I believe adds value, because funeral homes want to be paid. They want their money up front. So we want to make sure that the family receives that money when they need it. So that adds value. Also, our brochure, right in the middle of it, has like a little planning guide where we can kind of go through that with the prospect kind of explain that not only are we going to help them cover all of their expenses, but we can actually kind of help them put everything in order so then their family has a good idea of how they want everything done when the time comes. And I tell them, your family's really going to appreciate you taking the time to fill this out. So then they have a good idea of how you want everything done. And just little things like that, I think, add value, where I'm not just selling based on the price and face amounts.
Yeah, and absolutely. And if you have any doubt or concern whether you're going to get a first aid coverage or modified plan, that's where maybe you need to kind of pre-sell that a little bit. Hey, based off what you've told me and based off the answers to the health questions, I believe you can get first aid coverage. But in case something pops up that you forgot about, uh, because the insurance company will find out your past medical information and your prescriptions.
Oh, you know what's funny
There's
enough?
an
Oh, I'm sorry.
alternative. I was just going to talk about pre-selling it a little bit before it even happens. So tell them you're going to do your best to get first aid coverage, but if we can't because of your health, here's the alternative, and pre-sell it a little bit, and that should help you change gears a little bit, and when you have to come across that and do it that way.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there.
No, you're good.
I just something popped in my head that I like to create a little bit of doubt. By creating doubt, it creates urgency. If let's say somebody has a heart issue, maybe they have congestive heart failure, I'm going to make a big deal out of it. Wow, you have congestive heart failure. Have you ever been declined for insurance? So then right there, they might not even know if they'll be able to get coverage with us. But then they feel real good at the end when I tell them that we can still help them.
Absolutely. No, I like that. That's a good method to use. And sometimes when you try to take something away, they actually want it more. So I think that's a very good point. Um, so someone's asking about adding value. What do you mean by that? I'll take a shot at it and then I'll let you chime in, Adam. But adding value is just, it's selling yourself. It's selling more than just a policy. We have a memorial guide. If they will use that, they can put their wishes down on paper. That adds value. There's nothing additional that they pay for that, but it's an additional feature. It's an additional benefit that if they'll put their wishes down on paper, it'll prevent the family member who's having to take care of their arrangements. It'll prevent them from overspending. It'll make a lot of decisions for them. It'll take a lot of stress off of their plate. It'll take a lot of financial responsibility off their plate. So adding value is can mean a lot of different things, but it's selling yourself. A lot of people don't know Security National Life from a customer base. They don't know who SNL is. They're buying from you, so you need to sell yourself as much as anything. So, Adam, is there anything
Yeah,
you want to add to adding value?
yeah, no, I definitely agree with you, Tommy. I know we talked a little bit about that with the Memorial Guide book, the fact that we pay our claims pretty quickly. But I think, I mean, I'm pretty passionate about what I do. And I think when I'm in a home, the clients can tell that. They know that I'm there for them. They know that, I mean, I've seen what happens when people don't have insurance and they pass away and the whole family has to worry about pitching in to pay for it. So I'm very sincere and I want the client to know that not only am I there for them, but I will be there for their family when that time comes. And I don't know if it's just my mannerism or what, but I mean, people feel pretty good by the time I leave. I mean, they're usually giving me a big hug because they're so happy with what I was able to do to help them. But
Well,
I
I
am there
think
to help them. I mean, I'm not trying to make a sale. I'm trying to relieve that burden from their family, so they don't have to worry about it when their loved one, when they pass away, their loved ones aren't going to have to worry about it.
I think kind of what you just described is being empathetic, putting yourself in their shoes. Have you ever uh, seen someone pass away or experienced someone passing away that didn't have coverage. I see it all the time because I'm in the business. You may or may not experience that, but if you don't have coverage or don't have savings to pay for it, somebody is responsible for it. And if you can be empathetic and put yourself in their shoes in a way that makes sense to them.
And I think just kind of painting a picture of what is going to happen after they take out the policy and what's going to happen at the time that they were to pass, when the family would receive the money, and just that whole process, I think, kind of painting that picture and they can kind of see it, that helps a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Melvin, who has provided a testimony for us in the past uh, about transitioning from face-to-face to telesales, he provided a little more information on adding value. He said, "You are value. I will be there for you from this point on. I'm always there. If you have any questions, I'm a call away." So yes, absolutely. You are value. You become their quarterback. You become their coach. Uh, you become their go-to person, and sell yourself and tell them and ask them if they need anything to make you their first phone call regarding their insurance or any other insurance that they think they may need. So, um,
Yeah, I was actually
Michael,
talking to one of my agents over the weekend, and he was playing a voicemail for me. And the voicemail, the client says, "Hey, is this Mark, the best insurance man in the world?" Like, that's how you want your clients to think of you. Like, you want to treat your clients so good that that's how they think of you, that you're the first person to call.
absolutely, wholeheartedly agree. And you just mentioned something about painting a picture. Those of you that are doing telesales, you probably already realize this, but those of you that aren't but need to or want to, just remember that you have to communicate in a way that you have to paint that picture, and it's all verbal. A lot of you may have worked off a flip chart or a brochure in the past, pointing things out and helping set that picture. Well, if you're on the phone, everything is verbal. You have to paint that picture with the words that you say, and you have to do it in a clear, concise way. So just keep that in mind. And just want to point out one last thing, and then we can wrap it up. Michael was pointing out that we're our own chief marketing officer, and what he means by that is whatever your situation is, whatever your guidelines and scenario is, and in the location that you live, put together a plan that works for you. Whatever that plan is, put it down on paper. See if it's doable. See if it's executable. See if it's something that you can do, and if you have the budget to accommodate that through if you need leads or not, or whatever your situation. Just become your own chief marketing officer, your own CEO. This is your own business, so treat it that way. And times are different for all of us. Figure out what works for you. Figure out if whether going in the field makes sense or not. If it does, put some things in place to for you to be safe, for your prospects to be safe, and that you can continue to be successful moving forward in the business. So, Adam, is there anything you want to close out with?
I was just going to say, along with that, to reach out to your managers. I mean, that's what we're here for. Uh, like I said from the beginning, I've been doing this a long time. I know what works. I know what doesn't. There's really no need to reinvent the wheel. Reach out to us. Reach out to me. I'd be happy to help you. And I mean, our ultimate goal, we want you to have a long-lasting career in this business. So I'm in 17 years in now. If it didn't work, I would have found something else to do by now. But I think it's a great market, and I think it's only going to get better.
I wholeheartedly agree. With that said, if you need us, reach out to us. We're here to help you. We want to help you. So have a fantastic rest of the day. Have a great week, and we will see you back same time next week. Thank you.